Welcome everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are coming in from all over the world. You have arrived at Unboxing Growth to stay out front. That's our marketing masterclass. And this month, our topic is your headshot, an instant storytelling tool. And we are so excited that we have three amazing guest photographers today with us. My co-host and business partner and dear friend of 22 years is here with us. That's Jeanine Moss.
Hi, everybody. And so, it's really exciting is we've had a chance to work with all of these photographers. And so we know they have so much to share. So we're really, really stoked that we get to share them with you.
Yeah. So let's jump in, shall we?
Yeah.
All right. So we have three amazing photographers. So excited. And we'll tell you a little bit about the fact that we have literally worked with each and every one of them on big brands like Visa and Plantronics and Logitech to personal brands for colleagues and dear friends and clients like Jennifer Kenny and Karen Clopton, and each one of them has shot us in some capacity as well. So really fortunate to have each of you here today. Lucia, will you introduce yourself, please?
Absolutely. So glad to be here. I'm Lucia Kiel. I'm a Santa Barbara-based portrait photographer, and I focus on empowering women who don't love being photographed or love photos of themselves and really helping them to turn that around and love themselves in photos.
Beautiful. Mark, would you like to say hello?
Well, I do mostly corporate work, headshots, group shots. I work for a lot of the major corporations. I worked in Silicon Valley for probably 30 years, photographing every executive there, and board of directors and things like that. So that's basically what I do. That's what I do. And I work both out of San Francisco and out of the East Coast as well. So thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so glad you're here, Marco. And Margot.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. It's such a delight to be here with you. I am Margot Duane. I am based in the San Francisco Bay Area. I'm an internationally published photographer, Time, Forbes, Rolling Stone, several books. I've been shooting for 25 years. It is my life's passion. And I specialize in personal branding for leaders, thought leaders, entrepreneurs, and people who move the needle.
Ooh, great.
Beautiful. Okay. We are so fortunate to have all of you here. So thank you again. We always want to just ground ourselves in who we are. So Jeanine and I have Outfront Solutions, and that's a marketing and branding and growth and valuation driving organization. And what you see pictured is our ikigai, which is a Japanese term for reason for being and how we show up in the world. And those concentric circles kind of show you the major areas where we touch. And I always like to direct people to what's in the center, and that is that we're always very results driven. And our clients come back to us over and over again, thankfully, and we're very purpose driven. And so we really like to hone in on, those organizations that have, and we like to propel a clear purpose, and going with them on that journey. It's really a treat. We're super focused on growth and valuation, which is pictured here. So really about attracting the right people to your organization and motivating them to whatever desired action you have. We're focused on, lowering costs and, really differentiation, and always working with technologies, the latest technologies, and doing so in a privacy compliant way. That's really values aligned for us as well.
And I was going to add that, Nicole and I have been working together since the beginning of the commercial internet. So we've been using technologies for our entire careers and trying out all the new ones. And we've done a lot with AI, and we've got a lot of interesting videos about that on YouTube you can find from our website. But I just want to say that's really the tools today with technology are amazing for being able to acquire customers and generate leads and that kind of thing. So that's where we're focused.
Yeah. And this is just kind of shows a lot of the top brands that we've worked with. And I'll say that photography is phenomenally important, right? It's so important. In working with each of these brands, we've pretty much almost done a shoot with every single logo that's up here. And the importance of truly capturing a brand and someone's essence and, executive and personal, their executive and personal brand, it's so important. So, we literally could tell stories for days around, photo shoots with people like, Carly Fiorina and Steve Jobs back in the day to, more recently with, folks like Karen Clopton and whatnot. So, yeah. So let's jump in. So what are we going to cover today? Today is going to be full of tips. So get your pens ready or your fingers typing, because we're going to cover a lot of ground and answer a lot of the questions that are here around wardrobe changes and, where should you hold your photo shoot? Should you retouch your images? Do you really need hair and makeup? Spoiler alert, absolutely. Don't miss it. What usage rights do I need, and what formats and what prompts? So yeah, and the photographers are going to jump in and answer a lot of those questions for us, which is fantastic. Oops. So when you're planning your photo shoot, it's super important to think ahead. How am I actually going to use these shots? Do I need them for a website? And therefore, should I potentially leave some space on either side of the shot? How am I going to use them in social media, LinkedIn and Facebook and all of those formats, where there can also be a need for a vertical format or engaging, or maybe a little fewer, a few photos that are a little less formal maybe. Am I going to use them in presentation decks, as stills, as part of videos? So it's really important to think through those scenarios so that you have a potential shot list, right? So that you are planning ahead for the usage, you have the outfits and the scenarios and, brand essence that you want to communicate.
And you know what? This is also really important to prep the photographer with. One of the questions on the previous slide was, how do I prep my photographer? So generally, I know from the three of you, you like to know a lot. Does anyone want to jump in for a sec and give any guidance about prepping the photographer before you even get to your shoot?
That's a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are some of the things you do or ask for?
Well, I think that one of the things that I always do, I don't know exactly how you would do this, but I research every person I'm photographing. I want to know about their kids, their family, where they live, what they like, because I've only got about 2 minutes to bond with executives, especially. Now, the three of us shoot very differently. I don't do most of the photography that I've seen that these women do, which is beautiful, is not something I do. I do corporate photography and sometimes advertising, but mostly just corporate photography in-house. And we have to know everything about you have about 5 to 10 minutes with each executive. And you got to get to their soul right away and figure out what they're all about so they trust you.
Right.
And that's how you would prepare, is just to make sure the photographer knows a little bit about who he's shooting. I try to visit the people I'm going to photograph, and I especially go and see where it is we're shooting, day or a week before. Don't want any surprises with locations. But anyway, I could go on and on about that subject, but that's a very, very good thing to bring up.
Yeah.
So from our side, we're always are saying, well, here's how we're going to use it, and here's where, here's the shots. We'll imagine the shots that we think we need, and then often you as photographers will say, oh, let's get this too, let's get that. But we'll come with a shot list and a brand. I know, Lucia, you like to know a lot about the brand. Your brand values, so you can give them your creative briefs on brand. It's really helpful. Then they know about colors, they know about, you as a style. So there's stuff you can do. Maybe we'll cover that more later.
Yeah, we will.
Oops. Okay, so we just wanted to bring this up for fun. You might have recently seen that the Senate dropped dress codes for Fetterman here, because he was wearing these hoodies, and he was going through some rough times, and everybody was fighting about what the dress code should be. So the Senate said, okay, we're going to just drop it. And then there was a big uprising on both sides. One of the few nonpartisan things that happened was everybody was, no, we are an august body and we must dress for the part. And the reason why we bring this up is because it really is important, the dressing for the part. And this, I think this photo really kind of says it all. You don't want to be looking like that when you're in a position of authority, which brings us to this slide. So Nicole and I are constantly educating ourselves on everything having to do with communications and marketing. And we've just recently done a deep dive, we knew we were going to do this, into what you wear and what it means. And turns out there's a bunch of science about it. And so Scientific American did a piece on how clothes influence our performance, but a bunch of other folks did too. So we kind of summed it up. So what's really interesting, you see the second sentence, is what you wear can influence your thinking and negotiating skills, and even hormone levels and heart rates. Well, who'd have thunk that? I know I wouldn't, but I'm thinking about how it feels for other people, but it also feels for us. And I remember during COVID, we all talked about getting dressed for our offices, so that we would feel professional. And then we kind of let it go over time, I think, at least from the waist down we did. But then many studies show that when you wear more professional attire, the recall for your presentation is so much greater. So they did studies, and they said after 48 hours, what do you remember of these presentations? Turns out if you've got a professional outfit on, an authoritative professional outfit, it really improves recall after the 48 hours for what you presented, right? So you'll see, I think on the next slide.
And I just,
oh, sorry.
And
yes.
it's okay, because it actually, you can pop to the next slide, Jeanine, because it even reflects that, planning out your outfits, and especially if you are going to be in shots together, like these are examples of shots that Jeanine and I did with Lucia here on the call about a year and a half or 2 years ago, right? 2.5 years ago. And we really wanted to make sure that we had a range of styles and scenarios that these images could fit with. And one of the things that's important as well is thinking about patterns. And, you really don't want to have a small pattern, because that's not compatible with photography. It can create these kind of crazy ziggly lines, what have you. And so in these shots, you see the one with Jeanine and I with, I'm wearing a white jacket there, the colors and composition go really well. And you probably all seen this in our marketing, because we use it really strongly. And it's showing our connection as leaders. I think it's a really beautiful shot that is so fantastically on brand for us. We also are wearing gowns or, more kind of formal attire. And, we've been using those in all kinds of different scenarios as well. And then you see shots that are a little more informal with Jeanine's super cool bomber jacket. And, I'm wearing a dress and what have you. And because I have a small vineyard, I also did some shots with my wine. So yeah. Jeanine?
Well, I'll just add a couple of things, which is that we wanted to maximize the time that we were with Lucia, right? So we said, okay, we're going to do one shot. We're going to do 3 outfits. We're going to do business, we're going to do casual, and we're going to do a little more formal. So if we're inviting you to a gala, we'll probably use the one on the top right? If we're just in business, we're using the top left. And the middle one is a more social, fun thing that we would use, right? So we picked those outfits and we shot together, but then we also would get shots apart. So that headshot of mine in the middle there, the close-up, that's that same dress that I'm wearing with Nicole in the upper right. Just step away after you do the 2 together, then you can do each of you separately. So we were really able to get this large body of photography of us, which just keeps things fresh, in all of your communications. And the other thing that I would mention here is that over the years, we've done a lot to bag a lot of photography every time we do a shoot. That's what kind of the philosophy is here with these headshots. But we also do photo libraries for our clients. That's something that we've worked with Mark on a lot, like in New York City. Fly Mark in, point him at what you need to get. I remember when he shot New York, we said, okay, get one establishing shot of each borough, get one detail of each borough, and then get one, lively action shot with people, right? So Mark was able to go off on his own and get all these things. And New York City used those for like 10 years. So you can do that too. You can pull together a big library of shots and get a lot of mileage. As Nicole said, it's 2 years later. And just one plug for hair and makeup, you can see how good it is and how important it is in these headshots, right? We love hair and makeup.
And just a reminder, please, if you have any comments, questions, what have you, pop those in the chat. Yeah, we'll get to them. And thank you for the compliment. We were really happy with the shoot.
Okay, so now we're going to turn it over to the photographers and let them tell you a little bit about what you're looking at and maybe cover a couple of questions that you have. So let's start with Mark. Mark, you want to tell us about what we're looking at and what we should know?
Yeah, I put mostly corporate work up here. I put a photograph of an artist. I went to Buenos Aires, Argentina to photograph. And I kind of got away from the standard portrait face on. I wanted his art in the background, and I wanted it to be a compelling photo. So that's the story of this particular artist. But most of the other stuff on the bottom right, that's the CEO of Visa. They used this photo everywhere for more than a year. We did a formal portrait of him. And I'm going to say this for a second. The woman in the middle, she's from Alibaba. And this photograph on the orange is a casual photo. In fact, I use the iPhone. I've been using the iPhone ever since it came out. And the photograph of her on the left is the formal portrait shot that we did. So I do both of everybody. We do 2 scenarios. The photograph of the Visa CEO, that was in a video that their ad agency did on him. But excuse me if I'm getting off on a tangent. Bring me back if I do. But the one photograph here I wanted to add because for those of you that have to deal with any group pictures of people that have very little time, this is the board of directors of Visa. I've been shooting for them for 15 years. And this is a shot that we set up the day before using stand-ins and just grabbed some employees, the lighting and everything. So at 7 a.m. before the board meeting, we were able to take this photograph. And it's probably the most stressful thing that any of you could ever do is a group shot of something like the board of directors. And of course, one of the things I love to tell people, this is kind of an important fact, and that is that nobody ever remembers the portraits that you did. They only remember how you made them feel. And I think that's why I keep going back to Visa. And anyway, I'm open. Any questions anybody has, but these are, time is of the essence. A lot of times with the executives, you only have 15, 20 minutes at the most, and that includes hair and makeup. So,
Well,
yeah.
one thing that I notice is that they're kind of informal. They seem a little informal, like the CEO of Visa.
Yeah.
Seems informal. Tell us a little bit. I mean, is it important to have a super formal one and an informal one? What are you experiencing in those kinds of shots?
Well, I mean, I know we've worked together, and you know that there's very few corporations where I haven't done the global management team, Levi's, Visa, AAA, all that. All of the executives I've photographed, and they gravitate towards the informal shots. And I always tell them, in fact, when we do the sort of official portrait shot, if I'm going to call it that, like Jennifer on the bottom left, then I say, okay, I need 5 minutes. We're going to go take some casual shots. And I have I have the iPhone with me because the apps are amazing, and they always use those. I know this sounds crazy, but some PR people that have hired me before asked me not to talk about the iPhone. They asked me to call it the small camera, because people get offended that you've been hired to go and photograph their executives and you pull out an iPhone. But the casual shots always get way more mileage than the formal portraits. I find it strange, but that's what happens. It's more honest, and the honesty, you brought up a very interesting word, and that is evaluation. I think when you do portraits and they're honest and sincere, and the executive on the bottom right from Visa, there's an honesty to that shot. People love it, and they're gravitating away from the formal backdrop, white backdrop or whatever backdrop portrait, and they're going more for the informal shot.
That's a beautiful point, Mark. And I think in today's world where trust is at an all-time low, and
right.
so important to have authenticity, you're helping all of these executives let down their guard and really show their connected human side. So it's beautiful. Fantastic.
Anyway, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, well, I've got more questions, but let's go through, and then maybe we'll do more questions towards the end. So, Margot, can you tell us a little bit about what we're seeing and what we should learn from this? You got to unmute yourself, though.
Hi, everybody. Wonderful to be here. I've been shooting for 25 years, and I have just always been fascinated with not only how people look, what they think, what they believe, their aspirations, which sort of led me to personal branding photography. So I'm really, my jam is sharing my clients' native intelligence, their warmth, their humanity, their energy, and really everything that brought them to the moment that they are in front of my lens, I'm interested in. So I do a deep dive with all my clients, a brand discovery around what they've overcome, their very specific preferences, visual and otherwise. I want to just know it all so I can photograph the whole human. So in the upper left is Jennifer Kenny. She's a thought leader on management. She's amazing. And what I really wanted to communicate, or we wanted, was that she's an authority. She's credible. She's brilliant. She's also very warm and very funny. And so I think we nailed it. And then the one in the top is Xander Soren. He's a music technologist. He co-founded the GarageBand app, and he is now producing a new Pinot Noir brand. So his brand is casual California rock and roll Pinot Noir. And this was shot for both the California market and for Japan, where he's really actively marketing. So we kind of pick up casual, cool elegance. That's sort of his thing. And then lower left, this client had, well, I shoot a variety of everybody so that they have a photo library like Jeanine was talking about, some formal photos, but this was sort of a personal photo of an attorney. And we decided to photograph her placed with San Francisco in the background because that's kind of critical to her career. But this is also a personal photo. She was in a transformation, and I really wanted to show her as kind of queen of the world. And what is amazing that you have to understand about photography, and particularly branding photography, it's personal and intimate, and it can be really transformational to see yourself being seen in your highest, as your highest self. So, that, and then the photo on the right is, she is a fractional CEO, fractional marketing officer, CMO, and she's in tech. And really, what was key for her was competence, authority, and almost equally modernity. So we photographed her at the Getty Museum in the Getty Center, in Los Angeles. And we got really lucky with the light, and it was an amazing shoot. On the right is a Vietnamese immigrant who wrote a book to support other immigrants in, quote, having a seat at the table, which is what we hear frequently, that women and not underrepresented populations want a seat at the table. And so when I was shooting her, I thought, one thing that's compelling, to shoot compelling pictures, people want to see something new and fresh. Show me something interesting that's going to draw me in. And I thought, seat at the table, own the table. So somebody asked me, Jeanine asked me, why is she standing on the table? Number one, it's unusual. Number two, it totally exemplifies her brand. She's bold, in charge, and she's a leader. So
beautiful.
Questions?
You had to be at the same level to shoot that. So are you standing on a table also?
I'm tall. I don't remember. Maybe I was not standing on the table, no, but I'm shooting up at her. I'm shooting from a low angle. I'm not really at eye level.
Yeah. Yeah.
Margot,
super powerful.
Margot, I have a question for you.
Yes.
Is there any significance in the fact that she's wearing all white?
There might be to her. We didn't actually discuss that. I just knew that it would play well with this background. And by the way, I loved everything you shared about clothing choices. I map what my client is wearing to each background to make sure that there's a coherent visual story for every picture. So to answer your question, I don't know, but I knew it looked good in this instance.
Quick question about color since we're on it. Nicole and I just did a video shoot and I was wearing red, and the videographer said, well, that's kind of a hard color to work with. Is that true? Should we not use red when we're having a shoot, or is that okay? I mean, it looks great to me. Looks powerful.
Great question. I have no problems with red, and as you can see here, it photographs really well and powerfully. I'm not a videographer, and your videographer may have had a totally solid reason. Technically, I don't know what that might be. So I say everything, all colors are open. Most important, I want my clients to feel absolutely fabulous, and I want the visual story to be coherent.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense with the backgrounds. And you do that, rather masterfully. And
Thank you.
So let's hear from Lucia.
All right. So I'm Lucia Kiel, and that's me in the top left. And I set up a tripod to get my own headshot, but I specifically did it in my style, in my studio, so it would really represent my brand, because a brand is so insanely personal. So there really are no hard and fast rules for what you can wear, where you should shoot. You really have to, those questions you guys asked in the beginning, you have to think about, where am I going to use it? How am I going to use it? And what do I want to represent in my photos? Who do I want to see? What do I want my prospective clients to see? So I included a variety of examples to try to really show that, some brands want a lifestyle look, like these realtor husband and wife team here on the top right. And it wants to feel completely natural, like I just caught them in a moment of talking. Or below them, another one where she's not looking and we're using props. Sometimes your brand really wants you to have a laptop or be taking notes. It's really good to think about all the kinds of shots, because you don't just, if you're doing a personal branding shoot, that is, you don't just need headshots. You need possibly everything from lifestyle to a variety of looking off and using props. I also have an example of an outdoor shoot, because it's important to think about with your brand where your photo shoot should take place. Some brands really want to be outdoors and the location really matters. Some brands are a really good fit for the beach. Others definitely are not. Some want all studio. Others wouldn't, studio wouldn't make any sense. So it's just so personal. And you want to make sure you're working with a photographer that gets that and can guide you through the process of figuring out what is a good fit for your brand. If you don't know, if you're not working with somebody amazing like Jeanine and Nicole. So yeah. And then I even have like a more glamorous fashion style branding image, because this woman's a stylist, and a very standard headshot here. This woman in the red makes me think of also an important point is cropping your image. This image is actually a bigger image, more pulled out, and the way that it got cropped, there's a lot of headroom, and that probably wouldn't bother some people, but you want to think about when you're using your images, the cropping is really key. A bad crop can actually really take a lot of the power away from a good image. So working with a graphic designer or your photographer in how you use your images on your website, on your profile picture. I've seen so many bad crops that might only bug me, but I think it does detract from the overall impact of the image. And Nicole, I think you guys had some questions for me.
Yeah, I wanted to also just kind of riff off the cropping message and whatnot, and just say something of critical importance. Trust your photographer. Listen to your photographer. She or he, they're masters. I mean, we have masters here on this webinar, and they will give you phenomenal direction. We have been very fortunate to work on a lot of shoots. So we will know usage. We will also chime in and collaborate with the photographer in a lot of ways to make sure that we're getting the shots that we need. But it's just of critical importance to listen to the photographer. They're all directors, and they're masterful at that. So, and helping you to connect with the camera. And I will say that each and every one of you has made me feel safe, and or the subject who you're photographing feel really safe and, aligned with who they truly are. And that's why these shots are just so incredible, because people are showing up completely authentically, openly, vulnerable, and also with their aspirational power. So,
and as the bad cropper, I want to speak up because I used these photos. I pulled them into Canva, and I'm looking at them going, oh my gosh, yeah, way too much stuff on the top. And it would change the character of the photo. And so when we're using them, and I confess I was moving pretty fast. So, and also Canva's hard, it was kind of hard to position the photos. But I just want to emphasize how I totally agree on the cropping. And you can see on the one with the red that it had a little less there would up top, it would be more impactful. But that also brings me to something else, which is I've also noticed in a number of photos, Lucia, you photograph a lot of women. And I see a lot of really seriously plunging necklines. How sexy should we be? How sexy should we not be? How do we address that?
Yeah. Not to attack you in the cropping, it was actually just a really good example of what I see everywhere and something is good to be aware of. Yeah, with necklines, it's again super personal. This fashion stylist, obviously she can do whatever she wants because it's her, that's her brand. And that's the thing is some people, a plunging neckline could work. I would say pretty much for everybody, if it's going to distract the eye, don't do it. Because the first thing people see in your photos should be your eyes, not anything else. Your eyes, your smile, your connection. The most important thing in any photo is connection. No matter what brand you're in, no matter what you're doing, you need to, it's your very first impression, your 2-second chance to make that connection, to feel relatable. So if a plunging neckline is going to mean the eye is directed there first, then I would highly advise against it. But it can depend.
Now, one thing that I learned from Lucia that I didn't know before our shoot, which was really valuable, is you said, smile with your eyes. And I realized that I wasn't smiling with my eyes. I mean, we all think about that, but I wasn't. And it really took a little practice to learn how to smile with your eyes. So everybody on the call, go to the mirror and see if you can practice smiling with your eyes. It makes such a difference.
It really does. It's the thing I tell all my clients. I actually want to make a video recording of how to do it and send it out ahead of time because it is something that they learn over the course of the shoot. And as you said, it takes some practice, but getting that genuine smile and that light in the eyes and having that light stay on, even when you're not smiling, is challenging, but it makes all the difference.
Excellent. Oh, Nick, you're on mute.
That speaks to the energy that you bring to the shoot. I'm actually, shoots are rather exhausting. So a pro tip is get as much sleep as you possibly can before. I know typically we're all really excited. I'm excited if I'm, helping to produce a shoot or, the subject of the shoot, but try to get a lot of sleep, hydration, invest in the hair and makeup. Please.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely pays off. I mean, all of these images are phenomenal because there is flawless hair and makeup done.
And
I
will speak to that. It's every one of my shoots includes professional hair and makeup, as you guys experienced, because nobody should have to deal with that on their own and finding an artist. And there are so many really awful makeup artists, Sephora counter style. So you really want to work with a pro. And so ideally working with a photographer that does include hair and makeup. And I also wanted to add that in a photographer who really knows how to pose, because it's not your job to be photogenic. It's not your job to know how to pose, to know what to do with your hands. So really trying to find a photographer who knows what they're doing, knows how to guide you, direct you, as you guys said, and make it easy, because then your light can shine through and you can capture images that really feel like you and feel authentic and jump off the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic.
Okay, we're going to do a Q&A, so let's get there. But before we do, we just want you to know about next month's unboxing, because this is going to be a really great one. It's about customer success, which is really all that customer service stuff, everything that happens post-sale, right? And we're marketers and we're all busy filling up that funnel and converting those leads and that kind of stuff. And very few of our clients, and more though, we're encouraging to get involved after the sale happens and turn those folks into not only loyal customers, but advocates. But there's something else about customer success. It's often put in the bucket of expense. You know, customer service is just an expense. But in fact, there's a ton of stuff you can learn through the customer success process that is really revenue generating. So Lauren Costella, she's our guest next month. She's a customer success expert. She heads up the association. She's got, tons of experience there. And she's going to show you how to find hidden value propositions, things you didn't even think of to promote, which is fantastic. And understanding where to invest, who's going to stay with you long term and who's not, right? So that you're investing, you're putting your energy and resources towards the right people. And then understanding where you lose people and what you can do to fix that. So and that's just a sampling of what she'll talk about. So I highly recommend that if you can join that one, it's going to be very, very meaty.